Hi everyone, I am Nakia. Thank you for watching my presentation titled In the Beginning, created by I am Nakia. Before moving forward, I would like to say the information I will be presenting, including future presentations, is a work divinely inspired, and I, Nakia, am verbally stating my intention to protect this information and the fundamental integrity of it from all misuse, intentional or not, public or private, in its entirety, with all rights reserved, without restriction. In addition, all information created and shared by me, Nakia, regarding this divine work is and will continue to be protected by forces that operate in truth and balance. All misuse will be recompensed with equal measure. Now, to keep the integrity of this information intact, what we know today as artificial intelligence, or AI, was not used to create or build on this information in any form. If and or when that time does come, it is of great importance to ensure the same integrity being used to carry out the duty of this information to the people is the same used to build a system of artificial intelligence or any other systems of knowledge. Keep in mind, programming isn't only what you see, it also includes what you do not see. And a lot of what we do not know, in large part, is because of what we do not see. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act, 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Now, those of us who grew up in church or read the Bible is more than likely familiar with the passage that began with "in the beginning." In Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 in Genesis chapter 1 verses 1 through 5, it reads, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form, and void and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, Let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. The evening and the morning were the first day." Another passage I would like to mention is John chapter 1. So in John chapter 1, verses 1 through 3, it reads, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made." Now, what do those passages consist of? Well, they consist of the English alphabet, numbers 1, 3, and 5, and frequency. Frequency referring to the number of times a number and or letter repeats as part of the same word or a different word. Throughout the passages, we can see letters and numbers to include the repeats. What we do not see is how the repetitive use of letters and numbers affect our world cosmically. The truth is, in the beginning, something more than the heavens and the earth was created, or even brought forth, something unseen but realized, with great potential and a tremendous impact. Now, when I am researching or building on something, one thing I find to be very helpful is to determine the origin and definition of a word using a dictionary and etymology. The dictionary defines the word, etymology takes you to the beginning where the word originated, be it another word or era of time it first came into use. Now, let's look at the definition and origin of the words letter, number, frequency, and word. Here on this slide is the word letter. And letter is defined as a character or symbol. Um, any of the symbols like A, B, C used to write a language, typically representing a speech or sound. the etymology of letter, to the right of letter, to the word letter, you see right here in the white box where the etymology is. To the right of the letter in the parentheses is its part of speech. So a part of speech is a noun, pronoun, adjective, so forth and so on. And so letter is part of speech is a noun. And in circa 1200, it meant a graphic symbol, an alphabetic sign, a written character conveying information about sound in speech. To continue, it was from Old French lettre, meaning meant as or means a character, a letter. So from Old French lettre, it meant a character, a letter, a missive, a note. In plural, literature, writing, learning. From Latin litera, a letter of the alphabet, also in epistle, writing, document, literature, great books, science, learning, a word of uncertain origin. So keep in mind, even as I read this, there's a lot of quotation marks as a part of the etymology of this word. And so that's basically, as I'm not sure if for those who are not familiar, quotation marks basically means that the information is basically being brought forth from somewhere else, right? It was already quoted somewhere else and someone is bringing it to you as like for me example, I'm bringing it to you from somewhere else. So so even as I read it, it sounds kind of broken, and that's okay, as long as there's an understanding of what is being seen here. So basically, the etymology of letter, what I want to point out is when it first came into use again is circa 1200 as shown here. And at that time, it meant a graphic symbol, an alphabetic sign, a written character conveying information. And so I'll leave that there. Here on this slide, we have the word number. And number is defined as an arithmetical value expressed by a word, symbol, or figure, representing a particular quantity and used in counting and making calculations. It is also a quantity or an amount. The The etymology of number, its part of speech is a noun, and in circa 1300 it meant a sum, an aggregate of a collection. From Anglo-French numbre, from Old French nombre, and directly from Latin numeris, which means a number, a quantity. Its pi root, the letters here is NEM, and NEM as a pi root means to assign, to allot, and or to take. So pi, for those who are not aware, pi, the PIE is an acronym which stands for Proto-Indo-European. Just to put that information out there. Here on this slide is the definition for frequency, and frequency is defined as the rate at which something occurs over a particular period of time or in a given sample. It is also the rate per second of a vibration, constituting a wave, either in a material, as in sound waves, or in an electromagnetic field, as in radio waves and light. The etymology of frequency is part of speech as a noun, and in the 1550s, it meant a state of being crowded. It reads here that that meaning is now obsolete, and from the 1640s, it meant a fact of occurring often. From Latin frequentia, an assembling in great numbers, a crowding, crowd, multitude, a throng. Down here, right after frequent, it says a sense in physics, it means a rate of reoccurrence, especially of a vibration, is from 1831. Here we have the definition for the word word. And word is defined as a single distinct meaningful element of speech or writing used with others, or sometimes alone, to form a sentence and typically shown with a space on either side when written or printed. It is a command, a password, or signal. It is one's account of the truth, especially when it differs from that of another person. It is the text or It is the text or spoken part of a play, opera, or other performed piece, a script. It is a basic unit of data in a computer, typically 16 or 32 bits long. The etymology of word is its part of speech is a noun, and notice there is no date um, of first use. However, um, it means a sound or combination of sounds in a language as the sign of a conception. Also, the words or printed characters which represent it. It looks like it says here Old English word means to Old English word means speech, talk, utterance, sentence, statement, news, report, word. It's from Proto-Germanic worda, and it's pi root. The letters here is WERE, and those letters for its pi root means to speak and or to say. If you notice to the right of the pi root is the number 3 in parentheses. So what that means is there are at least from wherever this information was sourced, there is at least 3 separate meanings or definitions for that pi root, and they have provided the third. So that's what that 3 means. Now to summarize. So based on the definitions and etymology of these 3 words, letters are symbols, numbers is a value, quantity or amount expressed by a symbol and or a word. Frequency is the rate and or count of something occurring over a period, and word is the expression of a sound. So the act of these words when brought together symbolize potential. And in the beginning, not only did God create heaven and earth, but God also put in place the blueprint. The information I will be presenting in this video and in the ones to follow will hopefully illuminate to you what has been divinely imparted. Order out of chaos. When researching the meaning order out of chaos, a couple of descriptions came up. So what I have here is the Latin order ab chaos, which is described as achieving structure, stability, or self-organization from randomness. And then we have here the Freemasonry description, order ab chaos. That could be a typo, but order ab chaos, which is described as transforming ignorance, conflict, or confusion into clarity, wisdom, and moral structure. Okay, so why ordo ab chaos, or why order from chaos? Well, in the times we are in, our world is pretty chaotic. The etymology of the word pretty means cunning, crafty, clever. Therefore, even in my word of choice, a suggestion lies. Is the chaos we see and or experience natural, organic, meaning how would it all unfold without the interference of human ingenuity? Or is it all part of a cunning, crafty, and clever scheme? My words would suggest so. When I think of order from chaos, one way I think of it is more along the lines of letting the chips fall where they may and seeing what happens from that point. The etymology of chaos is gaping, a void, and an immeasurable space. Its pi root is the letters GHIEH, which root means to yawn, to gape, and or to be wide open. Therefore, based on this knowing, for me, order from chaos would suggest the involvement of a universal intelligence. That is, if you consider yourself to be an intelligent being, or at least a being that comes from intelligence. Just because a space is gaping, void, wide open, or immeasurable does not necessarily mean chaotic in the worst sense. It only means its true presence or purpose has yet to be quantified or identified, basically measured. As I was preparing this presentation, I began to think, is it possible that I may be projecting my own understanding of chaos to be something disruptive? Possibly. However, I consider myself to be an intelligent being, someone that walk with an inner knowing that influences come not only from within but also from without. Meaning what I may be projecting as my own came from outside of me and is now considered as part of my internal dialogue that may appear to be mine, but in fact was never mine. And that is okay. It allows me to grow in understanding, and it is my responsibility to know the difference and proceed accordingly. It is important to know what something is and what it is not, or what should be versus what should not be. Therefore, you know when someone is attempting to pull wool over your eyes, to manipulate your understanding of what should be your knowing. As for chaos, it can come down to at least two. One is a quiet chaos, wide open and immeasurable. The second, a loud chaos, still wide open but measurable. If you toss up some chips and allow them to fall where they may, even within that act alone lie intelligence, even if it cannot be quantified in that moment. Your understanding, meaning to stand under, does not take away from the intellect of the multiplicity at play from the beginning and throughout that act. So, to summarize, order from chaos can be natural and organic, meaning order from chaos can be us as the chips using our individual intellect to order our own individual steps, which can aid the process, or it can be others intentionally creating chaotic situations to see what may come of it, so that they may be selfish partakers of it. We all of individual minds originate from one mind, living out separate but similar experiences that contribute to an even greater knowing, while at the same time allowing you, your witnesses, and the Most High to experience who you are, what you are capable of, how do you treat with yourself and others, who do you consider, excuse me, and who do you not consider and why, and so forth and so on. Or the chaos can be manufactured, meaning those still of individual minds, though in unison, manipulating a world, a reality that they themselves did not create, in order to place and or think of themselves as having a godlike quality to satiate the ego. These type of minds and or egos siphon from oceans to siphon from oceans, to manufacture lakes, and siphon from lakes to manufacture ponds. It's self-aggrandizing at its best and deleterious or damaging at its worst. What I have to present in this presentation and the ones to follow will show from the onset the possibility that the goal was always chaos, never order. Now, I have the next couple of slides will basically introduce some terminologies as part of this process. So, one is a word chart. So, what is a word chart? A word chart is a chart that can be built using letters and or can be built using letters, words, and numeric lines. What is a numeric line? A numeric line is a line made up of numbers ranging from 1 through 9. On this slide is the first example of what I call a numeric line. This numeric line is a numeric line consisting It's for the most part, it's in the order that we're all for the most part familiar with. It's in the order that we're all for the most part familiar with. So meaning starting at 1 and ending at 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is the first example of a numeric line. So we want to keep in mind that there are really only 9 natural numbers, right? Um, and part of this process, in numerology, there is a process called reduction in numbers, or reducing numbers. And so basically, how you do that is any number that is more than one digit, or any sum total that is more than one digit, is reduced until you get to the one digit. So, for example, 1 plus 1. So, which would be 11, right? So before we change it to 1 plus 1, we take the number 11. So in order to reduce the number 11 to one digit, you add 1 plus 1. So 1 plus 1, so 11 is 2 digits, and then what you do is you take the 1, add it to the other 1, which will result in the number 2. So 1 plus 1, which started out as 2 digits, now can be reduced to 1 digit, which will be the number 2. So that reduction is a part of this entire process. So all numbers are reduced to a single digit. Even when adding throughout the process, um, at the end, when I come to the sum total, the important thing here is no matter how I add the numbers, whether I reduce as I'm going or reduce at the end, the important thing is to reduce it to a single digit. So throughout this entire process, the only numbers that you're going to see is numbers 1 through 9 in the order in which you see them, or how it's presented and are shown. So on this slide, these are more numeric lines. So the first one starts with the first example that I showed you. So it's so I call that, one way I call that it, or consider that to be, though, is one way I consider that to be is the one numeric line, or call it by, apologies, the one numeric line. So when I say the one numeric line, what I mean by that is the numeric line that begins with the number 1. And so the first example is the one numeric line, and the second one would be the two numeric line. So meaning the numeric line that starts with 2. So as you notice, remember when I was talking about reducing numbers to a single digit? So the one numeric line, we're all familiar with that, right? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all single digit numbers. It's not till you get to the two numeric line that it begins to look a little different, because the two numeric line begins with would normally begin with a single digit number, but it would end with a 2 because it would end with 10, right? So the two numeric line would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, based on what we have been taught. However, what I'm referring to would be now taking that 10 and reducing it to a single digit, which is what you see here. So again, just to explain, I took the 10, added the 1 plus the 0, which resulted in the number 1, which is why the number 1 is at the end of the two numeric line. And so basically what is happening here, these numbers are basically cycling around. So it begins with 1 and ends with 9, and then after 9, it cycles back around to 1. So the numeric line, as you can see here, is they're not going to always begin with the number one. They're not going to always begin with the number two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, or nine. They're going to show up in multiplicity. And throughout this process, my goal is to introduce those lines to you for greater understanding. And so here, so with the three numeric line, so the numeric line that begins with three, just to kind of drive home the importance of reducing these numbers to single digits, and to basically be able to hopefully help you to understand what it is that you see, because it's very important that you understand what you see, because if you don't understand what you see, then what I am doing is for naught, right? It's for nothing, right? So it's very important to me that you understand what I am presenting throughout the entire process. And so beginning with the three numeric line, what how we would normally see that based on our training, right? It would it would show we would see it as 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. However, again, we're reducing numbers to single digits. And so instead of you seeing 10 and 11, you see 1 and 2. And so as you can see here, after 1 and 2, you can just, if you can imagine that what's happening is it's cycling back around to 3 for the 3 numeric line. So, and then the same process applies for all the other numeric lines, 1 down through 9. And so another thing I would like to point out is the direction of these numeric lines. So right here, starting at the number 1, uh, looking at it from a horizontal perspective, you see uh, numbers 1 through 9, right? However, when you look at it from a vertical perspective, you see the same numbers 1 through 9. And so, and that is the case for all of the numbers. So if you see here, starting with the number 2 in that number 1 numeric line, you see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. When you look at it vertical, and the same is displayed horizontal, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. So here you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2 on the vertical, and on the horizontal, it is repeated 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2. And so I kind of just wanted to point that out. It's basically repeating itself. So, okay, so what do I do with these numeric lines? Well, I create word charts. So here in the first example are word charts for Nakia, Trust, and Truth. And so the goal here, so I know there's going to be many questions about, I don't even want to assume, I am aware that there are many questions already so far. And so my goal here in this presentation is the introduction, right? I am introducing numeric lines and word charts. And part of this entire process, I will be building, right? Because again, my goal here is understanding um, the process and what I have to introduce. And so here again are word examples for Nakia, Trust, and Truth. Um, and so when I get to this point, uh, so where you see, so starting under the letter N for Nakia, where you see that 6 numeric line, 6 can be seen as row 1, and 5 would be row 9. So basically what we have here is row 1. So 6 would be row 1, 7 row 2, 8 row 3, 9 row 4, 1 5, 2 6, 3 7, 8 4, and 5 9. And so all the charts or all the word charts will consist of nine rows, 9 numbers. So after I get to this point of putting the applicable numeric line for each letter, what I do from that point is I'm continuing to build out the chart. And so here again are the examples for Nakia Trust and Truth. But if you notice, the areas highlighted in blue. And so how did I get to that point? Well, how I got there was or is by adding a cross. And so starting with in the first row, what I basically did was add a cross until I got to the numbers that you see there reflected. And so, for example, in the first row, it starts with 6. So I added 6 to 1. So 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 1, or apologies, 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 3 is 10, but 10 can be reduced to 1. 1 plus 9, when reduced, will result in 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2, which is why 2 is right there in that first row. For row 2, 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 plus 4 when reduced will be 3. 3 plus 9 when reduced will be 3. And 3 plus 1 is 4. For the third row, 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 plus 5 when reduced will be 5. 5 plus 9 when reduced will be 5. And 5 plus 1 is 6. 9 for the fourth row, 9 plus 1 when reduced will be 1. 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 9 when reduced will be 7. And 7 plus 1 is 8. For the fifth row, 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 7 is 9. 9 plus 9 when reduced will be 9. And 9 plus 1 when reduced will be 1. For the sixth row, 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 8 when reduced will be 2. 2 plus 9 when reduced will be 2. And 2 plus 1 is 3. For the seventh row, 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 9 when reduced will be 4. 4 plus 9 when reduced again will be 4. And 4 plus 1 is 5. For the eighth row, 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 plus 9 when reduced will be 6. And 6 plus 1 is 7. For the ninth row, 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 9 when reduced will be 8. And 8 plus 1 is 9. And so that's how I got to uh, the numbers highlighted in blue for each of these words. So here I have more examples of word charts. So here these are examples for the numbers in word form. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so I'll just sit here for a moment and allow an opportunity to just be able to see what is here. I know there are, as you can see here, there are the numeric lines. The numeric lines they are in multiple, so they're meaning there are many. And again, I will, if you stick with me throughout this process, my goal here is to provide understanding, a clear understanding, and so we will get there. My goal here is like I said, is to introduce the information and just to basically show introduce the numeric lines, the word charts, and to basically break down the numeric lines, uh, basically to see what they're revealing. What can we see in these numeric lines? So on this slide, it's more word examples. These are for the colors. So we have black, white, blue, purple, red, green, orange, and yellow. All right, so what can be found within these lines of numbers? Well, here, what I have here, let's see, hope we can see it. Okay, so these are numeric lines. And so, or these are more numeric lines. But if you notice at the top of each of the numeric lines are letters. And these are letters from what we know to be the English alphabet. And so, starting with the first numeric line for the letter A, right in the top left corner, you'll see a numeric line that show as a column of 9 ones. And so when we're so we have 9 numbers. And so in order to break those 9 numbers down evenly, you would have to divide it by 3, right? And so that's what I'm doing here is I'm taking these 9 numbers and I'm dividing it evenly. And so what that ends up resulting in is 3 threes, right? So you have one, two, three. But when you count the number one, you have one plus one is two, and two plus one is three. And because it is, and because the numeric line consists of all ones, the three is going to repeat itself, right, for all 3 parts. So for the letter B, what I have here is, or the letter B is a column of 9 twos. And so when that numeric line is broken down by into 3 parts, so by threes, it results in 666. So 2 plus 2 is 4, and 4 plus 2 is 6, which is why 6 is here. And again, because the numeric line consists of all twos, the 6 is going to repeat itself for all 3 parts. So for the letter C, it consists of a column of 9 threes. And so when you break it down, it results in the number 9. So you'll see 9 for all 3 parts. And so I continued that process all the way across until you get to the letter I. And so as you can see here in this first section of this graph, you can see here a pattern already, right? Some of you may have already seen it in some of those word examples or in some of those word charts. So here you can see it even more clearer. You see, if you look at it horizontal, starting in that first section, I mean, it doesn't matter which section you look at it, because when you look at it across for all 9 letters, you'll see the pattern. So you see 369, 369, 369. So, like I said, you see it for all 3 parts when you look at it all the way across. So for the second section or the second part here, starting with the letter J and ending with the letter R, the same logic was applied here. So the difference here is that, all of these numeric lines show the same number, whereas with these numeric lines, they don't. So they show up uh, in in that, like, what I call a consecutive order. So consecutive meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So although, so that would be the one numeric line, right? So uh, all numeric lines, although it may be consecutive, all of them will not always start with the number one. And you can see that here. So for J, it starts with a it starts with a two numeric line. And when I separate it by its parts, so three parts, we're talking about nine numbers, so separated by three evenly. Uh, 2 plus 3 is 5, and 5 plus 4 is 9, which is why 9 is there. And then 5 plus 6 is 2, and 2 plus 7 is 9, which is why 9 is there. And 8 plus 9 will result in 8, and 8 plus 1 is 9. So the result will be three parts that result in 999. And then for the letter K, it starts with the three numeric line. And when you add it, 3 plus 4 is 7, and 7 plus 5 when reduced will be 3. 6 plus 7 when reduced will be 4, and 4 plus 8 when reduced will be 3. And then 9 plus 1 when reduced will be 1, and 1 plus 2 is 3. And then for the letter L, starts with a four numeric line. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 plus 6 when reduced will be 6. 7 plus 8 when reduced will be 6. And 6 plus 9 when reduced will be 6. 1 plus 2 is 3. And 3 plus 3 is 6. So you see here, when you look at it across, you see the pattern. So uh, again, it doesn't matter. So this, I see it, this here is the first part, second part, and third part. However, it does not matter which part you see. I mean, you should see it all because what you see is important because, again, the goal is understanding. However, what I'm trying to say is when you kind of span out and you look at it all the way across, you see what is reflected here is a pattern. So you have 936, 936, 936, and that shows up for all three parts. 936, 936, 936. So whereas at the top it shows 369, 369, 369 all the way across, the second part shows 936, 936, 936 all the way across. And then for this third section or part here, starting with the letter S and ending with the letter Z, you start. So you see here. So just to start begin counting. So again, you have the three parts. Again, same process, same logic. 3 plus 5 is 8, and then 8 plus 7 when reduced will be 6. 9 plus 2 when reduced will be 2, and 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 8 when reduced will be 5, and 5 plus 1 is 6. For the letter T, 4 plus 6 when reduced is 1, and 1 plus 8 is 9. 1 plus 3 is 4, and 4 plus 5 is 9. 7 plus 9 when reduced will be 7, and 7 plus 2 is 9. For the letter U, 5 plus 7 when reduced will be 3, and 3 plus 9 when reduced will be 3. 2 plus 4 is 6, and 6 plus 6 when reduced will be 3. And 8 plus 1 is 9, and 9 plus 3 when reduced will be 3. And so, again, what shows up is a pattern of uh, 6, 9, and 3. So here you see the 6, 9, 3 pattern all the way across. Of course, after the letter Z, well, for Y and Z, what's shown is 6, 9. It would show 3 if the letters continued right after Z, but there's only 26 letters of the English alphabet. So that's why you only see 6, 9 here. But so all three parts are basically showing the 369 pattern in some way or another. The first part is reflecting 369, the second part 936, and the third part 693. And so um, it matters what you see because what you see is what it is. However, when we're talking about the 369 pattern, it doesn't matter in a sense that 369 when you add it all will always result in 9, right? It will always result in the 3 6 or the 9. So Uh, so here is the same chart. Um, just kind of expanding it so it can be seen. So again, the same chart, but what I'm doing is I'm building, right? I'm showing what the lines reveal. And so in the first chart, we separated it by threes. And so after you separate it by threes, there are still remaining numbers, right? So we got to include those numbers as well. And so what this chart is basically doing that it's showing what the remaining numbers reveal. And so here again, starting in the top left corner with the letter A, you have the column of all the column of 9 ones. And so now since we started by separating it by three, now for each section remains two digits, two numbers. And so the same process that I followed in the first example is the same process that I followed in this example here for the numbers highlighted in blue. And so starting with A as the first example, 1 plus 1 is 2. And again, because it's a column of all ones, the 2 is going to repeat for all three parts. For the letter B, same process. 2 plus 2 is 4. And so because it's a column of 9 2s, the 4 will repeat for all three parts. The same for the letter C and all the way across to the letter I. And so when you look at this section, when you kind of look at it, uh, when you pan out and you see it starting from letter A to letter I all the way across, the pattern that you see here is 2 4 6 8 1 3 5 7 9. And you see that repeat for all three parts. And then for under the letter J, same process, same logic. So starting in the first part for the letter J, the remaining numbers is 2 and 3, and 2 plus 3 is 5, which is why 5 is there. For the second part, we have 5 and 6, and 5 and 6 equals, when reduced, will be 2, and 8 and 9, when reduced, will be 8. So what you see here is for the letter J, for each three parts based on the two remaining numbers, you see reflected here is the numbers 5, 2, and 8. For the letter K, uh, starting in the first part, the remaining numbers is 3 and 4, and 3 plus 4 equals 7. For the second part, we have here numbers 6 and 7, and 6 plus 7 when reduced will be 4. And for the third part, 9 and 1, and 9 plus 1 when reduced will be 1. So the number that you see here, or the numbers reflected for those three parts for the remaining two numbers, is 7, 4, 1. And then for the letter L, for the first part, the remaining two digits is the numbers 4 and 5, and 4 plus 5 equals 9. For the second part, you have the numbers 7 and 8, and 7 and 8 when reduced will be 6. And for the third part, the remaining numbers is 1 and 2, and 1 plus 2 equals 3. And so you see here for that, for the letter L, for those three parts, for those remaining two numbers, the numbers reflected is 9, 6, and 3. And so as you see here, when you look at it all the way across, when you look at those numbers, you see a repeated pattern. So when you look at it vertical, right? So for the letter J, you see here 528. For K, you see here 741, and for L is 963, and then for M is 285, and N is 417, and O is 639. So if you notice, although it's not repeating in the same order, it's still the same number showing up. So whereas for J, it shows as 5, 2, 8. For M, those numbers show up instead in the order of 2, 8, and 5, right? And then for K, where it shows up as 7, 4, 1, for N, instead it shows up as 4, 1, 7. Same numbers, but different order. So, and then when you look at it um, horizontal from left to right, you see that what you see here. So I'm going to I'm going to bring you to a point of reference. So point of reference would be the number 2 right here under the letter M. So starting here and going and moving right, this is where you'll see the pattern. So what is showing here is 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3. And again, remember we're cycling back around. 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And so that's the same here, right? Remember up here at the top in the first part, it kind of clearly shows it 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, which might I add is another numeric line, as well as all the others. All of these are numeric lines when you see them, um, when you look at them horizontal. So, um, so here in the second section, you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And so for the two, for the second part, 2, you can find it under the letter M. For the second part, 2 is under the letter J. And for the third part, in the second section, that is, for uh, the third part, 2 can be found under the letter P as a reference point in order to identify that numeric line, basically. So, and then the third part, same process, same logic. So when you add 3 plus 5, the result is 8. 9 plus 2, the result is 2. 6 plus 8, the result is 5. 4 plus 6, the result is 1. 1 plus 3, the result will be 4. And 7 and 9, the result will be 7. And under the letter U, 5 and 7 will result in 3. 2 and 4 will result in 6. And 8 and 1 will result in 9. And so same process, same results. So again, you see here the 825, the 147, and the 369. And when you look at it horizontal across, 2, 4, so it's not a complete numeric line because this is not, because this third part does not include 9 letters. So it so you can find the 2 under the letter Y. So it goes 2, 4. That 6 isn't there because the letters basically end at Z. But so then if you cycle back around, it cycles back around at 8. So that can be seen as an incomplete numeric line. And then for the second part, 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7. So the 9 is missing for the second part, right? So for the first part, the 6 is missing. For the second part, the 9 is missing. And then for the third part, you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3. So the 3 is missing. So do you notice that pattern there? The 6, 3, 9. So again, for this first part, the 6 is missing, so 6. For the second part, the 9, so 6, 9. And then the third part, the 3 is missing, so 6, 9, 3. So there again, the 6, 9, 3 pattern is showing up throughout this process. And then, so then when we take the remaining numbers just to account for the entire nine numeric line. When you take the remaining numbers, it's you can clearly see it. So you have for the letter A, you have 111. For the letter B is 222, and the letter C is 333. For J, that pattern is going to show up. It's going to continue to show up. So for J is 258, for K is 369, and for L is 471. So those letters are showing up there. Um, all right, so here is a number grid that we're all for the most part familiar with, right? This is the number grid that's on our telephone keypad. You may find it in other places as well. And so what I have here, I basically am showing how the numeric keypad, some of you probably are already familiar with this, but when you add 147, because remember those that in those grids there, those charts that I just showed you, it shows how the nine numeric lines reveal the 369 pattern, basically. And so the 147, the 258, and the 369 also reveals the 369 pattern. It is those groupings of numbers, those three groupings of numbers together is the 3, the 6, and the 9. So they are it individually and they are it together. So 147, 1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 plus 7 when reduced will be 3. 2 plus 5 is 7, and 7 plus 8 when reduced will be 6. And 3 plus 6 is 9, and 9 plus 9 when reduced will be 9. Of course, that's vertical. If you add it across horizontal, 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 plus 3 is 6. 4 plus 5 is 9, and 9 plus 6 when reduced will be 6. And 7 plus 8 is 6, and 6 plus 9 when reduced will be 6. So you basically have 369 here at the bottom, horizontal, and 666 on the right side, vertical. And so here I'm just basically showing more word examples, word chart examples. Here we have, or here I have, the uh, news networks. So here you have ABC, CBS, Fox, CNN, NBC, NPR, PBS, MSNBC, BBC, CNBC, C-SPAN, ESPN, and Political. Uh, so now that we can see what the numeric lines are revealing, we can now see even more the meaning in the word choice or the letter choices that make up these, let's say, words or acronyms, right? Because ABC, CBS, all of, I, I, I think for the most part, I'm not sure. Maybe they all are acronyms, maybe not. Something, I think ABC was something broadcasting. I don't know. Um, or I am not able to recall, I'll say. But like I was saying, now that I've shown how or what the numeric lines are revealing, we can see even more now why these news networks. I'm not suggesting. I'm not suggesting anything. I'll just say this is that we see what the numeric lines are revealing, and it brings you to question motive. Okay, I'll say that. So here are the internet search providers. It is this list is not all inclusive. I'm not sure if it is. I just did an internet search and this is what came up, and I just completed word charts for each of these just to kind of show what 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 they show. And so as you notice, so some of them you can clearly see so when you go back to when I go back to the news networks, ABC is all sixes, CBS, it starts with the 8, so this can be seen as an 8 numeric line. However, it is what you see here, if you bring it back to the two, it is the it's the 246813579 numeric line. Fox, you can see clearly is 369, 369, 369. CNN has the 246813579 numeric line. NBC is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So even though in row one it starts with the number two and ends with the one, I see that myself as the one numeric line because I find the the reference point, the numeric reference, and that would be the one for this one. NPR, you can see here the 693, 693, 693, and PBS, you can see the 471, 471, 471. So PBS, this would also, if I was to break it down by threes, it would be 333. For NPR, it would be 999. For NBC, it would be, let's see, 59. So it would be 999. For CNN, it would be 666. Fox would be 999. CBS would be 999. Wait, no, apologies, 333. It would be 333 for CBS, and ABC will be 999. 6 plus 6 will reduce to 3, and 3 plus 6 is 9. So, yeah. And then speaking of these internet search providers, some of them I was not even aware of. But again, like I said in the beginning, a lot of times what we do not know is because of what it is that we do not see. And so, and then here on this slide is more internet search providers. And then here on this slide, we have the cable networks, entertainment networks. I guess it be called by another name as such. But here I have Comcast, Disney, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Sony. And then we have here I have Thomson Reuters, Amazon, Netflix, DirecTV, Hulu, Peacock, and Apple. So um, I was going to say there was no rhyme or reason to me pulling up these, but then that wouldn't be necessarily all the way true, because I am interested in knowing how what we see on a day-to-day basis, what has been basically integrated as part of our lives on a day-to-day basis. I'm definitely interested in seeing how this all plays a part. Um, when it's looked at from the building of word charts. So I'll say that. I'll leave it there. So I have reached the end of my presentation. I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. I do want to say this before I end. So I am not someone who has social media footprints. I am not out there like uh, others are, I'll say. And so if you're looking for me, you will not find me. When I began this process, I did begin to I did make moves to create, because before this process, my intention was to not show up on social media like that. I am a private person. I enjoy my privacy. I respect and honor my own privacy. And so social media, being out there on social media was not a part of my plan. However, things change, right? So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. So I want to thank you all. As I said, the goal is for me is to just continue to push out this information and build. Um, I welcome questions. I welcome the conversation. Of course, many conversations will come of this. Um, and is there anything else? Well, it's not coming to me now, so there'll be more presentations. If I have more to say, I'll say it in future presentations. So again, thank you for watching, and I will meet with you in the next video. Bye.